Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Perspective, the action-packed youth debate show. This debating competition looks for bright teams of young debaters who use their words to captivate an audience and get the world's attention. We're also looking for people who are passionate and powerful enough to prove their point. So, since this is the first episode, let me give you a bit of information about Perspective. More importantly, about the structure of the competition. We start off with 16 teams, heading into 8 preliminary rounds, after which we will have 4 quarterfinals, followed by 2 semi-finals and 1 grand final, where the ultimate debating team will be crowned. Today's show is the first preliminary show. So, enough talking from me, let's introduce everyone. Today in the studio I have 6 contestants with me, 2 teams. So, to my left I have the Freedom Fighters, and to my right I have Team Argumentum. So let's introduce the candidates. Today I'm going to head over to Team Freedom Fighters, and I'm going to ask you to give me your name, where you're from, and why you're interested in debating. So can I start off with you, please?
Oh, hi, my name is Tamir Ahmed. I'm from here. My family been raised in Bangladesh, but I'm originally from here. And I'm interested in debating because I love expressing myself and viewing my points, because it makes everyone less ignorant, and it will open people's minds, and it's interesting to see what people think.
You can pass it on now.
Hi, my name is Nadira, and I've been debating for 2 years, and I'm really interested in public speaking. Also, where I'm from is, so I live in Bow, so similar to my my other fellow teammate. And
my name is Abi Saeed. I'm from Bow in East London, and I enjoy debating. I've also been part of the Young Mayor process, and I'm going into the UK Youth Parliament quite soon.
Wow, very nice. So thank you very much, Samira, Nadira and Abu Saeed from Team Freedom Fighters. Okay, so to my right I have Team Argumentum. Now I'm going to ask you to take the microphone, and I want you just to tell us your name, where you're from, and why you're interested in debating.
Hi, my name's Ramisa, and I'm from Chingford in East London, and I enjoy debating because I like working in a team and working with different types of people.
My name is Zara. I live in Tottenham. I enjoy debating as I like arguing and getting my point across.
My name is Yusuf. I'm from North London, and I like debating because it gives me a chance to voice my views and hear what other people think about them.
Okay, thank you very much, Team Argumentum. So there we have it. There are today's contestants and the 2 teams, Freedom Fighters and Argumentum. Now we're going to head over to the judges. This is the panel of judges that are going to decide who is going to win today's debating competition. So I'm going to start off by introducing the judges. So, towards the end, we have Mr. Mahmoud El-Ghannam. He's aged 22. He's interested in Middle Eastern politics, the economy and Islamic history. His occupation? He's a corporate health consultant at one of the leading health consultancies. He also holds a degree from the prestigious London School of Economics in Government and Economics, as well as a Master's in Development Management. Next to him, we have Miss Kehinde Akintunde. She has a degree in Politics and International Relations, and she is a keen activist for social justice and cohesion. And finally, the last judge, we have Mr. David Thompson. He was working in the British Army, then he moved on to the Omani Air Force for 4 years. He was also a physio for the NHS for 20 years. He currently works as a family support worker for a children's centre. He's interested in reading and the current affairs, and he also likes travelling. So there are our judges. Now I'm going to ask the judges what they're looking for from their winning team of debaters today. And obviously, here on Perspective, we're looking for good speakers, people who can articulate their argument properly. But now I'm going to ask the judges personally what they're looking for. So, Mr. El-Ghannam, what are you looking for in the best debater today?
I think the most important point for me is evidence and backing up your point. So when you state a point, make sure you do back it up with facts and stats. And another really key point for me is patience when hearing out the other team. So there's no need for shouting out or anything, just hear it out and then try and pick any kind of weaknesses in their points and then counter argue that.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. El Ghanem. Now, Ms. Akintunde, what are you looking for from the contestants today?
Well, I'm looking for a well-constructed, coherent argument that gives me a new insight into the view and subject of euthanasia today.
Okay, and finally, Mr. Thompson, what are you looking for?
Well, I'm looking for a structured presentation where you have evidence where possible. I'm also looking for compassion in your arguments, which reflects an understanding of the deeply emotive nature of the subject you're going to be discussing today, euthanasia.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, before we head over into the debate, let me just give you a bit of the structure of today's program. So we're going to start off with the first phase, where the contestants are going to give a short 1 to 2 minute speech where they talk about their points and why they are arguing either for or against today's topic, euthanasia. Then we move on to the second phase, where we're going to have an actual debate where one team can make a point and the other team can counter. And finally, in the third and final phase, we're going to have the judges asking questions based on what they've heard before, and if they have any of their own questions to the contestants based on the topic of euthanasia. So, enough with the introduction, let's get straight into the debate. Euthanasia. Euthanasia is the ending of a very sick person's life in order to relieve them of stress. Now, in the UK, such an act is illegal, and it could lead you up to 14 years imprisonment. But it's still a very controversial topic, because on one hand, you're relieving someone of immense pain and sickness, whereas on the other, you are taking a life. So it's controversial, and that means we're going to debate it. So today, Team Freedom Fighters are against euthanasia, and we have Team Argumentum who are debating for euthanasia. So now I'm going to head over to Team Argumentum, and I'm going to ask you to give your short 1 to 2 minute speeches, and you can do it based on the order that you've set up, and basically just outline your main points. So off you go.
I'm going to talk about the individual. The one most affected by the policies and restrictions around euthanasia is, without a doubt, he or she who is considering, or in most cases, desperate for a way out. Let's ask ourselves a question: why would someone want to kill themselves? What causes someone to get to the point where they want to end their life? To me, the answer is simple: it's to escape pain, be that physical or emotional. But I believe they're one and the same. Let's consider a patient who has an illness that, say, prevents them from using, like, I don't know, going to the toilet by themselves. I don't know about you, but to me that's a very private thing. And depending on the person's mental state at the time, that could cause them enough stress and shame to cause them to start hating their life. Okay, so what? Well, as this person has so little mobility, everything in their life is a task. Imagine struggling with doing even the most basic things: getting out of bed, brushing your teeth, making tea. Often it isn't even because people are physically disabled, but because they're mentally impaired. Like the writer Terry Pratchett, who had a short-term memory disorder, and that stopped him from doing the one thing he loved most, which is writing. And he actually went through euthanasia in the Netherlands. So anyways, this person very slowly becomes more and more helpless. Their illness is likely to lead to frustration, depression, and potentially other severe forms of mental illnesses. Now, mental health is a key aspect of a person's well-being, and poor mental health combined with physical struggles, it just makes a person just dead inside. So it's important to note, though, that before people go towards euthanasia, they will go through a process, so to speak. They'll talk to family members, they'll get advice from doctors, they'll get counselling. And the problem with that is that with euthanasia being illegal in the UK, they can't even go for that when there is no hope. So I think euthanasia shouldn't be seen as being equivalent to killing someone, but more as relieving someone of their pain. And I believe everyone should have the right to die, and that there should be a standard procedure for those wanting to make use of that right, i.e. euthanasia.
Okay, thank you. Can I remind you that the speeches have to be in between 1 to 2 minutes?
Okay, there are two types of euthanasia: active and passive. Active euthanasia is when the doctor carries out a deliberate action such as an injection, and passive is when medical treatment is not given or is stopped. If active euthanasia was authorized, it would allow people who rejected treatment to go through a peaceful death rather than having to wait for their body to slowly admit defeat, then to condense that process. If passive euthanasia is allowed, why can't active euthanasia be accepted? Also, preparing for death can be less painful for he or she that is dying, for family that is around, or even friends. Knowing how we die can prevent us from having an excruciating ending. When a patient is suffering severe anguish, society can be doing more harm by keeping them alive rather than allowing them to end their life. They will have people helping them, however, slowly, they will start to feel like a burden upon others. Would you want to be a burden on others? Having someone to feed you, change you, clothe you, and bathe you when they themselves have other commitments such as work, family life, as well as enjoyment. The carer has to watch their loved ones feel worthless and incapable and see their dignity being shattered piece by piece. The patient loses their complete independence. The person's life revolves around to be independent and for it to be lost just like that. You feel a burden on society and a burden on family. From a purely economic view, the government will undoubtedly play a larger role in the healthcare industry, which means that any money saved by allowing people to choose euthanasia frees up more healthcare money for the needy. Now, imagine yourself being unable to walk, unable to see, and can barely breathe, let alone speak. You are in such unbearable pain that you can't even cry. Your life was well lived all those years before, but now there is no way that you could function without assistance. You think and feel as if your life has no meaning. Although your family is there for you, every step of the way you begin to think, could ending your life be the answer to the pain?
Thank you very much.
Euthanasia is currently legal in 8 countries, and one of them is the Netherlands. Since legalizing euthanasia in 1984, they have benefited from it, and recent studies have shown that euthanasia actually saves lives. Let me tell you how. When it was not legal in the Netherlands, 0.8% of all euthanasia was done without the consent of the patients, meaning someone had murdered them and used euthanasia as an excuse. However, when it became legal, this number reduced by 50%. This is because it is monitored and provides a protected and regulated framework where doctors must first obtain explicit consent where the patient is in full consciousness before conducting euthanasia. This framework makes it more difficult for those seeking to perform euthanasia with impure intentions. These strict guidelines would be implemented if euthanasia is legalized in the UK. Also, the whole idea of consent. Animals are put down every day. The vast majority of owners embrace mercy killing as a compassionate and ethically appropriate way to release animals from suffering. Why can't this be the same for humans? The animals don't even need to give consent, yet they get this response immediately. Why? Because their owner loves them enough to relieve them from this pain. But terminally ill patients give consent and express their views a number of times, but still their voices aren't being heard. Finally, the Hippocratic Oath, which doctors must take. The Hippocratic Oath states that doctors should protect the well-being of patients and help them as well as prevent any harm. This means that doctors should save lives but also have a duty to respect patients' choice and help those who want to end their life. This shows they are protecting the well-being of patients, as saving a man's life and making them go through all that pain is exactly the same as killing them.
Thank you very much, Team Argumentum, for your short 1 to 2 minute speeches. Now I'm going to head over to freedom fighters who are against euthanasia, and you're going to do the same thing, whichever order you've prepared. But once again, can I just stress the importance of keeping your speeches within 1 to 2 minutes, because time management is a key part of debating on this competition. So please, off you go.
I am against euthanasia due to a variety of reasons. Firstly, although euthanasia may have the ability of ending someone's suffering, there are many treatments out there in the world today which will both take victims' pain away as well as let them live their lives, such as palliative care. Leading on from this, although such treatments may be difficult, it can be said that euthanasia can be used as an easy way out, leading people to opt for euthanasia rather than put in extra effort to attempt to save the person and cure them.
The option of euthanasia is the idea that the elderly and disabled are being a burden towards their families and themselves. Now, I think that the quality of life should not be judged by others, as it is a subjective topic. Now, I feel that the idea of euthanasia damages the value of the sanity of people's lives and should be discouraged, because it promotes the idea that there are some people that do not have an option. And
Thank you.
What is the definition of euthanasia? This is the painless killing of a patient suffering from an incurable and painful disease or in a coma. What's the definition of suicide? The action of killing oneself intentionally. What do they both have in common? A life is taken from this world. What don't they have in common? One is legalized in some countries, but the other is not. Doesn't that statement contradict itself? Euthanasia is accepted, but suicide is not, even though they both link to the theme of intentional death. Not only is it hypocritical, but it's also wrong. To commit euthanasia is to act with the aim that somebody is a nobody. To commit euthanasia is to fail to see the value or dignity of a person. The judgment that what has value somehow does not have value. That is both logically and morally wrong.
Okay, thank you very much, Team Freedom Fighters. So, as you've seen, we've heard some very, very powerful points coming from each team, and the judges have been taking notes, as have each team, based on what their opposition is saying. So now that we've finished with the round of introductory speeches based on their topics and whether they're arguing for or against, we're going to head over into the actual debating round, where each team is going to be interacting with each other in an attempt to put another team's point down, or in an attempt to make their point look stronger. So what I'm going to do is, how it's going to work is, I'm going to ask one team to start off with a starting point. You make the point, and then the other team is then going to respond, and we're going to keep on going back and forth until I call an end to it. Then we're going to move on to this team with the starting point, and you respond. Do you get that? So it's going to be like an actual debate, but that's going to happen after the break. So make sure you stay seated and watching, because after the break we have the biggest part of today's show coming up, as both teams go head to head in order to prove their point.